Assalamu alaikum, my dear beloved brothers and sisters. It's your brother Bashir, and we continue our journey with the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best amongst you is the one that studies the Quran, lives the Quran, lives by it, and teaches it. So the one that teaches the Quran according to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is the best amongst us. And that's why we study the Quran together and we learn from each other. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might raise our position in this world and in the hereafter. Today we're going to talk about one of the signs. We know that the Quran is all a miracle, and the Quran was, even linguistically, is a big challenge for the people of Arabia and Mecca back then until today. Allah is challenging them to come with 7 verses or maybe 3 verses, even 1 verse that matches the Quran. And yet there is something that was very strange in the Quran. It's called al-huruf al-mutaqatti'ah, the words that are isolated or separated. Some chapters in the Quran start with letters. They start with letters such as alif, lam, mim, or ya, sin, just the letter itself. And this is one as what we call ashar mutashabiha, al-ayat al-mutashabiha fil Quran. Those are verses where some verses are clear in their meaning, clear in their understanding, and then there are some verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put as a sign for us, an understanding for us. And what we do is we accept them exactly the way that they are. We know there's a sign in it. We know there's a certain miracle to it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's a key to something. It's a signal to something, and we accept it the way that it is. We don't fully have to understand every single meaning of it. We're going to study a few things here in a minute. Just like an average person. I, for example, have an amazing smartphone. I use AI and ChatGPT to do certain things. I might have an electric car, drive an electric car. I know how to use it. It helps me in my life, but do I fully understand it? So those are some of the what we call the mutashabihat. Similarly, each one of those verses and letters is a key from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a special key that when you use it, it blesses, it opens your heart, it opens, and that's why you're going to find there's certain things that are strange about it. But then we're going to look at the linguistic miracle in it. So let's look at a couple of things. For example, and this is what makes each one different. Suppose, for example, you and I go to a car dealership and we buy a couple of brand new cars. So we both go to the same BMW dealership. We buy the same 7 Series BMW. You get a fob, I get a fob. They look exactly the same. But when you click unlock, it only unlocks your car. When I click unlock, it only unlocks my car. And we get into our cars. However, if I take your key, I can unlock your car. So each verse, each of those words in certain surahs, in certain forms, is unique in the way that Allah wants it to be. So we do not dictate what it is, but we accept it the way it comes from Allah. First and foremost, the Prophet ﷺ he did not study under any person. And that's why everybody can pronunciate the words. Everybody can pronunciate. If I put alif lam mim, they could say alam. Everybody would say alam, but only somebody that teaches you. And in the case of the Prophet ﷺ, he was learned and taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the Quran was revealed to him, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why when he pronunciated, he said, alif, lam, mim. And if you go with the Quran, you're supposed to continue the words. So even if you do it, it's supposed to be alifun, lamun, mimun, but he stopped on it the way that he was learned, he was taught, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught him that. As everybody knows, no man has ever taught the Prophet ﷺ. But going back to the matter of the keys, how each combination works differently in every single, just like your fob only opens your car and my fob only opens my car, these verses, those letters are combined in a magical way by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that maybe we don't even notice. Have you noticed that some of them only start with 1 letter, such as qaf, sad, and noon, for example? So those are 1 verses. But when it's 1 letter, guess what? It's not a separate verse. So when I say qaf, it's not a separate verse. It's not verse number 1, wal Quran al-Majid, or noon, wal qalami wa ma yasturun. No, it's all part of 1 verse. So it's 1 letter, it's part of 1 verse. If you go to 3 letters, for example, such as alif, lam, mim, no, it's an entire separate verse. Alif, lam, mim becomes an entire separate verse, as in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. What about alif, lam, ra? Alif, lam, ra. Again, 3 letters. No, it's still part of the same verse, the first verse. It's not a verse by itself, such as in Surah Yunus, Surah Hud, Surah Yusuf, and Surah Ibrahim. So it's a certain combination that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set up to open up our hearts, and our minds as we accept it. But now to fully understand it and appreciate it, what we're going to find out is the Arabic language, each letter has its own weight. Each letter, it's a living language. And we're going to talk more about this when we talk more about the power of the Arabic language itself. It's a living language. Each letter has a life to it, has a meaning to it. It carries a weight to it. So let's look at a couple of examples and kind of elaborate on that. For example, one of the things, any word that starts with the letter kaf, imagine hundreds of words, thousands of words that start with the letter kaf. Okay? Usually, any word that starts with the letter kaf, in Arabic we say غالبا ما تعطي المعنى الاحتواء. It means that this thing, whatever the word is, encompasses something. It covers something. So in Arabic we say kis. Kis means a bag. A bag encompasses what's within it. Kawkab encompasses what's in it. Kaf, cave, as in Surah Al-Kahf. A cave, what does a cave do? It hides, it encompasses what's within it. Kafan, the coffin. The English word coffin comes from kafan in Arabic. What does a coffin do? It covers what's within it. Kaf covers what's within it. And so when we see like Surah Maryam starting with kaf, ha, ya, ayn, sad, that letter by itself inspires something. And that's why some imams, again, this is not necessarily the true meaning of it, but they put those verses together, the letters, and like the alif lam mim and the ra, that's in there, alif lam mim ra, and so on. And they found that it builds the word ar-Rahman. And so there's other people that generated a lot of beautiful conclusions, not necessarily that we have to adopt those conclusions, but it's so beautiful and miraculous because each word in the Arabic language has an amazing meaning to it. Let's take the word, for example, al-harf, the letter ghain. كل كلمة تبدأ بحرف الغين غالبا ما تعطي معنى الضبابية. Usually when something starts with the letter غين, غا, when you hear غا, it means that it's something doubtful, it's something that's not clear, it's something that we can't see very clearly. For example, غيم. غيم means, when you drive in the morning and you can't see very clearly, there's that kind of fogginess. The word fog in Arabic is غيم. غمام means fogginess, but of a different sight. One is in your sight, one is actually in the weather itself. Ghadr. Ghadr means when somebody betrays you, when you think someone is on your side, but actually they are playing you or they're betraying you. So ghain, whenever a word starts with that, it's that doubtfulness, that's fogginess. You can't see very clearly. Ghaba. It means stupidity, but the meaning in Arabic actually means not stupid. It means someone that is not able to fully use their mental ability. Okay, so let's take another one. كل كلمة تحتوي على حرف الجيم والنون. Two letters. If they come together, جيم and nun. So ja and na. If those two letters come together, تعطي معنى الخفاء والاستتار. It means that something that's covered, that is sealed. For example, الجنين. Janeen means the baby in the womb. They're covered in the janeen. They're covered in their womb. A jinn. Jinn is an existence out there, but we don't see them. So jim and nun goes together. Al-Jannah. So Jannah we think means heaven, beautiful word, but it also means a garden. So the Arabic word, linguistic meaning, not the one in the Day of Judgment, but the linguistic meaning of Jannah is a beautiful garden that's covered by trees. Jannatak, as in Surah Al-Kahf, when we say Jannatak, your Jannah, what does that mean? It means that it has a very beautiful garden or farm or whatever, but it's covered by trees that people from the outside cannot see it. And so this is the beauty of the Arabic language, is that, and it's just very miraculous. So when we read those letters, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put it in there for us to understand that there's a sign, there's a miracle, that the Prophet ﷺ has only been learned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as such it was revealed to him, and that each one has a separate combination, and we read it as is, adhering out of our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you as we continue our journey. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. Remember, always the best amongst you is the one that reads the Quran, lives the Quran, teaches the Quran, and inspires others to live by the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.